Good morning. Denise Dryden here. I'm out on Bainbridge Island and it's raining yet again. So I'm underneath my roof trying to do a nice little video for you on today called Putting the Past in the Past, right? Let's just put the past in the past, and I want to put that in perspective because it's sort of an old topic that we've done. You know, I swear every time you open an article on Facebook or a meme or anything, it's like, put the past, let go of the past. And so I thought I would find out or explain to you why the past is sort of right up in our face right now, and that there are reasons. There are reasons. So some of you know that I've been studying at a mystery school for the last 18 months, which means I've been going back and sort of collecting old wisdoms and bringing them forward and trying to sort of blend them with my psychology experience, my educational background, my historical training. And this mystery school, one of the things we studied was astrology. Now, astrology is like science. It's got a lot of strings to it, a lot of pieces to it. And I'm not great. However, I'm a storyteller and a coach. So when I can kind of come together on a specific issue in astrology and explain it in a way that makes sense, it's helpful, right? So I want to start with April. I want you to just sort of look around, feel in, check in, and go, April, what have I noticed in my life since April? April. That's 5 months ago. And what I noticed through my clients, through my friends, through my influencers, through my own experience is that April things started to go like, ugh, this is hard. There's something really nudging on me, really pushing on me. So 5 months ago up until now, and still probably ongoing for some of us, there's this nagging, this little, what's going on? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So there's two reasons for this that I wanted to put in perspective, and then I'm going to shift us over to tools and skills, right? So just bear with me. Number one is Chiron. And we've talked about Chiron in previous videos. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's a little tiny planet that sort of holds, it holds Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus together. And sort of weaves, it's a weaver. It holds those three in their system. And it's a little guy who is going to keep reminding you of your deepest wound, the wound that you said, hey, throughout this whole lifetime, can I come in and do something about this specific one? Okay, so we know Chiron is here, and in April it sort of came in and got right into our bodies, right into our face, and said, you've got a wound, when are you going to deal with it? Shoot. The second one is Saturn in the South Node. So I'm reading this article by Donna Murkich, and she's out of Australia, and she's one of my favorite ladies to follow. And Saturn is this sort of father figure, this wise counsel, this really strict, boundaried planet that's comes in every 29 and a half to 30 years and taps you on the shoulders and goes, didn't you say you wanted to do, and kind of reminds you, right? So Saturn is this very strong planet. And it sort of dropped in April and started walking side by side with the South Node. And the South Node, sort of an obscure place, it sort of marks north and south on your chart. And the South Node is your past. Everything that you're carrying in your past. All this stuff. That's why this big bag's right here, right? Everything that's in your past. And Saturn's been walking along and going, got a pretty big bag there. And it looks like you're struggling carrying that. And you're going, shh, go away, don't bother me. So April, Saturn started to say, don't you think you should look in that bag and put some of this stuff away? Like, really deal with it? And if you go into denial, it just gets worse, right? It just gets worse. So what happens here is, to put this in context, is that we've had these planets that are not visible to us. Most of us don't know astrology, but they've been sort of putting pressure on our shoulders every day, going, hey, what's going on with you in the past, and how are you going to put that down so that you can go forward, so that you can create a different life? Like, wouldn't your life be a lot nicer and easier if you weren't schlepping this big bag around the whole time of the things that bother you from your past? Interesting analogy, huh? So how do we decide to put it down and leave it in the past? So, I work with parents and I work with adults who have really deep fears that have happened in the past, things that come up and trigger them. So it could be childhood traumas, things that happened to them when they were children. It could be, like their own personal experience. It could be divorce. It could be really hurtful relationships where someone stole from you or broke your heart or really, really just destroyed your life. It could be experiences of betrayal and pain, whether it comes from friends, family, a loved one. Or it could come from the experience of the inability to stop a person from failing. Like my brother was an addict, or my sister committed suicide, or my child can't seem to get out of bed. I mean, these are some really huge things that, of course, are in the past that we're going to hold on to. It makes sense. And then if we're parents, we have fears. We have fears about our kid, especially if there's drug or alcohol use, if there's school failure or the lack of engagement, if there's profound anxiety, if there's constant tension between father and son, or a mother and daughter, or crisscross those, right? So when we carry these experiences around as our reality, we bring them into everything we do, every conversation we have, every interaction. So here's an example. If we have a child that struggles and struggles in school, and they hit that rock bottom, and they're in full school refusal, or they're even in that immobility of anxiety, or they're acting out with sex, or weed, or screens, and everything is falling apart, it's going to bring up all of your past issues of school and what do people think, and my child isn't thriving the way my neighbor's kids are or my sister's kids are, and we're going to start niggling on ourselves, right? We're going to start like tap, 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 this is bad, this is bad. So another example is that your marriage is rocked to the core by betrayal. So it might be a lie about money or health, or there might be an affair and an intimacy issue with another person at work. This is, like everything that you thought about your marriage has been changed, because now this brings up other times where you felt betrayed or hurt. The third one is that you have a really good job and it pays well, and you start to get kind of flushed like, man, I'm on the right track. And so now it's time to buy a house. Maybe it's time to have a child. Maybe it's time to sort of get serious about like fleshing and building your life out. And then suddenly this company that you work for merges with another, and you're laid off and you're out. And it brings up this, how did I not see this coming? All of this shame and these pieces that belong here in the past. Okay, so these are real situations that could happen. That could have happened to you a year ago. They could have happened 5 years ago. They could have happened 10 years ago. But they're there trying to get our attention. They're influencing you about trust, about what you pay attention to and the decisions that you make. And it limits the growth that you're willing to take, because you have these pieces in here of things that you are going to pull up and recall and go, well, that happened, so I shouldn't, right? I think of the Dickens story of the Christmas Carol, of the Christmas ghost of the past, which is all of these things, they're all interconnected. So we have a pain, then we have a pain, then we have a pain, then we have a pain, and they're just like a big old chain that you can sort of rattle around and drag it behind you, right? So when we have these strong pains in our bodies, and they're related to, our past, then they can come up and trigger us at any time. So here's what I suggest. Is sit down, get that backpack, that bag off, sit down and look at it. And my situation, this is a really big bag. It's really heavy. And you start to pull some things out and you go, I know what this is. And you sort of go, this was blah. And you put it down. And then you put this, you look at this one, and you neutrally, sort of as calm as you can, start to lay out what the heck is in this bag. Like I've got rocks in here, I've got tools in here, I've got candles in, I've got memories in here, I've got all of this really heavy stuff, right? And you start to lay it out, and you do some self-exploring. Like you pretend like these things are just notice and observe and gather information. And I have this, and I have that, and I have this, and I have that. And then you step back and you look at them as information like, man, a lot of these were all about like 6 to 12. Or a lot of these are about my career. Or a lot of this is about how I trust other people. And you just kind of go, this is just information. Get as neutral as you can. And then you notice these patterns. Like, oh, yeah, when I touch this, I do this. I feel this. I act like this. When this comes up, oh, yeah, this reminds me of. And you start to sort of neutrally find out how many of these things there really are. And then with compassion and self-care, you let them inform you. You prioritize them. You kind of clump them together. And if you need to, you go find a coach or a therapist or a healer, or you take a workshop, or you do some sort of experience to gather more information about these if you need to, if you don't understand them. If you understand them, then the most important thing to do, and I'm just going to take this big old bag and get it off my lap so I have a little bit more space and a little bit more freedom, right? So the tool is that something comes up and it rattles this chain, right? It starts to connect these things together that you now have an awareness. And you notice it. Oh, yep, that's right. When you do that, or when I see this, I get rattled. And then you breathe in. So the first thing is to, when something comes up, notice that it's rattling. Notice that it's there. Oh, there it is. Second thing is it's rattling and it's connecting some things to me in the present right now. Okay, the third thing is breathe in deep and ground. Ground your feet into the ground, ground your body into the ground, into the earth, and acknowledge that, yep, that's one of those triggers and the past is shaking on me right now. Number 4 is to identify the piece that's shaking and go, yep, this is childhood stuff. It always comes up when da-da-da-da. And you choose, am I going to go into reaction and start putting that into this period right now? When I'm interacting with my child and I'm deathly afraid of anxiety and failure, am I going to let this guide me, or am I going to go stay back there and let me be present and let me deal with this right now? What is in front of me right now? And number 5, take a breath, move forward. Whether it's just, here we go, or you take a step, or you lean in, or you start to say something in the present. Is that to say something that changes that dynamic, that gets you out of the reaction. So this is about choice. So it's about knowing that they're there and that they're guiding you, and that when you come up on something in the past, you go, oh, and there that was, and then you choose to stay here present and say, I'm not going to let that influence me. I'm going to bring it right here. Now, Susie Miller, who's one of my favorite channels and influencers, especially on children of consciousness and parenting tools and awareness, says that when we stay present, when we can stay away from the past or the future, and we just show up in complete presence, that's how we hold love. So the most important thing for us to do for each other, for ourselves, for other people that we're interacted with, is to show up and be completely present in love, and not let these old rattling pieces of the past get in the way and start to push them further and further back, because they don't really matter anymore. So this is the kind of stuff I do. If you're interested in learning more, you can always drop me a note through my website at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Have a wonderful fall. We just passed the fall equinox, so get out there and enjoy the changing of the colors and the cooler weather coming in. Take care. Bye-bye.